Okay, so what are life skills, which I've already discussed, so I will reiterate again. It's an adaptive and positive behavior that enable humans to deal effectively with the demands and challenges of life. So we also can call it as a psychological competency. Okay, so this is the competency that everybody should have. It's very important that everybody needs this kind of competency because it's very important for our personal, professional, as well as our health also. So it also makes us active and productive members of our communities. So that's why it is also related to our soft skills. So these are the skills we can take wherever we go in life, no matter what we do. It can make our lives very easier. In our first, as I told you, even marital life can be made easier. Your career and job can be made easier. So let's explore how it can be made easier through this presentation. So I'm just going to list you the 10 skills given by World Health Organization quite a decade back, and still they are into training lot of these skills. Okay, so what are those 10 life skills we see? The first one is the problem solving skill. Okay, so here the problem solving skill, what we see, we'll see the details later, and problem solving, decision making, both are related. Similarly, creative thinking and critical thinking are also related, which is again important in our problem solving and decision making. Fine. So next one is creative thinking, critical thinking, and next one is very important, which I really wanted to explain first, is the self-awareness. Self-awareness, which is very important, and empathy. Empathy is a part of emotional intelligence as well, so it is again very important. So we are going to look into all these skills one by one and see how to develop it and what are the benefits we get out of it and what are the problems we face when these life skills are not in our life. And next is interpersonal and good communication, which is again part of it. And now management of stress and management of emotions. So these are the things which you're going to see. And this I already explained. This slide will give you a glimpse of the 10 skills which you're going to see today. Okay. So problem solving, decision making, as I said, to go in the same line. Just have a look at this. Okay, so we'll see the problem solving. Problem solving is the act of defining a problem, determining the cause of the problem, identifying, prioritizing it, and selecting the alternates for a solution and implementing it. First of all, we should see whether this problem, does it need really to be handled right now, or we can do it later, postpone it. And this problem, is it an opportunity for me or is it a barrier for me? Ask this question to your problems in life. And does the problem need solving right now, or is it a real problem, or am I cooking it? Am I worried about it, or am I thinking it? Okay. So now the problem solving is become a very important skill because we are every day faced with a lot of issues in our lives, right? So this problem what we face right now, we are able to easily fix the solution. But unless and until we won't know like what the problem is, it will be difficult for us to fix the solution. So the first important step in problem solving is to identify the problem. Okay, and then next step is to develop the alternatives. Now, what are the alternatives I have? Okay, in order to solve these issues. So, what are the options I have? Maybe you are some technical issues or some other issues in your life which you don't have any idea about. You can ask, the other parties, other people in your life to understand the issue in hand, or we can use a popular method called brainstorming also. Okay, so brainstorming can be used as well to figure out. I can quickly ask people like, what could have been the problem? Why am I having this issue? What is stopping me here? So then I will develop a lot of alternatives and select the right alternative. Okay, there may be a lot of alternatives, but I have to use my thinking capacity to select the alternative. So I finally fixed it because of this only I'm having this issue. Okay, so I have to choose, take the right choice and implement it. Only when you implement, we will know whether it is going to work or it doesn't work. I tried a lot of solutions earlier, it didn't work. So probably that alternative which I chose was wrong. And then when I went for the right alternative, it worked. It does work. So it was implemented and the answer is yes here, it's done. And the solution worked very well. And if it is no, then again we have to go through the entire. So decision making. So decision making is something we make choices quickly and we are bombarded with a lot of choices in our lives every day. So what we do is we'll have to take our shortcuts. That is our intuition, we say. Have you all heard of this term intuition? by which we take shortcuts. We really take the shortcuts through which we make some decisions. Okay, whether to buy a bike or a car, or which car should I buy. So we make some mental shortcuts and quickly make decisions. There are simple decisions and difficult decisions as well. Okay, for example, simple decisions are like every day, what is the dress I have to wear, and for housewives, it's like what is the kind of food I have to make. So these are the choices you are bombarded with every day. No audio. Okay, so here, yeah. So here, when as you're listening, participants, please analyze yourself which skill you may be missing or which skill is your strength. As and when you are actually, when you are listening to me over all these 10 life skills, I want here to think about what is the skill which is your strength and what are the skills which you think you should need to improve on. Okay, so see both of the areas as and when you are listening to this. Okay, now decision making, as I told you, we make two kind of decisions. Sometimes the decision have to be very quick, and sometimes the decision can take over a period of time. Okay, so when the decision has to be really quick, that time you can't go about the 7 steps which I'm going to discuss you in the next slide, but we will make a very quick decision. So that decision will be mostly, followed by our intuition. So intuition is like a gut feeling which says we'll go for this. Okay, so I think this would be the best thing to do. So we don't apply a lot of logical thinking, but then we just go by our intuitions. So what happens when we have a lot of time? Like for example, important things like career choices you need to make in your life. For example, you have to make a lot of important career choices. So what do? We need to make a informed choices here. For that, you need to follow a very long method. So which method we see? So these are the 7 steps which we need to follow. Okay. Please go through the 7 steps for a while. First step is identify the choices you have to make. For example, a lot of youngsters are here, I think. So youngsters can think of what is the career choice I have to make. For example, if I'm in my +2, I have to go for a major career stream, engineering or medicine or commerce, or which one I have to choose. Or for job people, like who are in the job also, they have to make a lot of choices. So in that area also, they need to really think like what is the course of action they have to take in respect to their careers also. And housewives also have to make a lot of choices. Okay, so and some simple choices also, like buying dresses also, and also cooking. These are simple choices, but there are other choices also. We need to whether should I buy a house now or later, or what is the kind of diet I should follow. So for all these choices you have in your life, you all have to go through these 7 steps. First is identify what is the thing you have to decide upon. I will give you an example. For example, now I am really confused between 2 choices I have in my life. Whether should I go for the sedan type car like the Benz car, or I should go for a even more lesser end car, but still not a sedan type, but it is cost effective. So these are the 2 cars. Even though you know about what brand you should go for, you are confused. So in whatever choices you are faced with your life, you can imagine whatever decision is very difficult for you to make, and I can tell you that decision making involves a lot of intelligence and your cognition also. That is your thinking ability, problem solving ability, reasoning ability. So it is actually intellectual decision making process where all these cognitive functions play. So it may be overwhelming for people who may find it very difficult to go with their decisions, choices in life. So when you're overwhelmed, it's fine. You may be stressed because of important decisions and you may try to postpone it, but you should know what are the decisions you can postpone and what are the decisions have to be taken right now. Because in my experience, a lot of people I've seen who make wrong choices, and because of which a lot of things go wrong in their life. Maybe in the terms of their relationship, about marriage, about their career, a lot of wrong changes can change their life and topsy-turvy their life forever. So you should be very careful about your important decisions you're going to make in your life. And for children, for parents who are listening to me, please listen that you please understand that teenagers, even from the age of 10 itself, you can give your children choices. You can you can go for choices. You can give them a lot of choices in their life and tell them which one to choose. They can make mistakes early in their life but not later in their life. So let them make some mistakes and learn how to make decisions so that they are not very overwhelmed when they are faced with a big decision in their life. Got it? So now just a small tips, because this webinar we don't have scope to improve all the skill which you're going to talk about. I can only give you an overview about how you can improve. So people who are already in the moderate, moderate score on decision making can get benefited, but for other people, you get an overview and you need to do a lot of work in order to improve your skills. First thing is you need to identify the decision, like what kind of, as I gave an example about between two cars. Next is gather the information. So when you are bombarded with the choices, about this or a diet choice or whatever, gather as much information as possible, okay? Because the lack of information may lead you to a wrong decision. Or you may conveniently, don't want to think about certain things because it may be against your emotional choice. So make sure the choices are not influenced by your emotions. For example, emotionally, right from childhood, you would like to go for this BMW, but then the money what you have you can only afford an other car. So you need to even write down all the pros and cons and write it down. Only then you know you're going by the factual things and not just by your emotions. And you need to identify the alternatives. Okay. So now I found out a lot of alternatives after discussing with people who are experts in the area. Please ask people who are experts in the area also, and you can ask as many opinions as possible, but final decision is going to be yours. Here in this step, you're going to weigh the evidences. What are the pros and cons about going for this car or the other one, or about the pros and cons of going for this diet or the other diet method? What is my inner need? What is the real need in me? For example, for a diet example, what I would say is some people are really lured by the advertisements, 2 weeks you can have a weight loss, and this is very, cost effective and all that stuff. But actually, what you are looking for is for more of fitness, not for weight loss. But then this advertisement may immediately put you, and you may even go for it. But then you need to pause and think here. So see whether this decision is really important. Whether this choice I'm making is really logical or rational. Okay, so you have to weigh the evidence here and finally choose among the alternatives. So you have a lot of alternatives, narrow it down here and use your analytical thinking capacity to choose. And during gathering information, use creative thinking to find as many alternatives as possible. Okay. And finally, you have to take action on the alternatives. So one action you can implement, you see how your decision has worked out. So let's say after making all this important step for decision, you finally decided to go for the BMW, and you see how it is implementing in your life and how this is going to improve your decisions also. And next is a very important skill for creative thinking. So in what area it is used, especially in our own life, like even our personal life also, and in our career life and in our work life, especially creative thinking is very important, especially for leaders, because all the time we can't have a straight line of thinking, but we need to think out of the box. That is called lateral thinking. Many times we are like dry of ideas and we can't think beyond, and a lot of people who could say like who are more successful were able to think creatively. Like we can even think of Steve Jobs, who's got a lot of other different ideas he had. So there we should see, and if you want to really become an entrepreneur or you want to be successful in life, this creative thinking is very important. And can you solve this puzzle? I'll just show this puzzle to you. I will read it out to you if it's not very clear for you. And you can think of an answer and you can chat also, you can write if you have the answer. Okay, now I'll go read it now. Acting on an anonymous phone call, the police raid a house to arrest a suspected murderer. They don't know what he looks like, but they know his name is John. Inside, they find a carpenter. Listen carefully here. So they find about a suspect. Okay, his name is John. And inside the house, they find a carpenter, lorry driver, a car mechanic, and a fireman. All these people were playing cards. Okay, without even asking his name, they immediately arrest the fireman. How do they know they've got their man? So this is the question I'm asking for the participants. You can just start in chat window. You can write in your answer if you know. Acting on an anonymous phone call, the police raid a house to arrest a suspected murderer. Okay, and they very well know the murderer is there in that house only. And inside the house, they find 4 people. One is carpenter, next is lorry driver, car mechanic, and a fireman. They all were playing cards. So here, without even asking his name, they immediately arrest the fireman. How do they know they've got their man? So I got one answer, and sure they've printed the names. That's a good thought, but no, that's not the answer. You need to really think out of the box. Okay. I'll just give one more half a more minute for you to think. Okay, so you will be amazed to see the answer because it is more about our biased thinking or our stereotyping. Okay, I'll show the answer now. Okay, he is the only man and all other were women. Have anyone thought of this? Why this mistake we have made is because of the stereotyping that carpenter will be a man only, lorry driver will be a man, car mechanic is a man, and fireman. So here they said only one guy, he is called John. Okay, what is his name? Yeah. So that means then how it is that he is not able to easily they can find out now when three ladies are there is only one man and they can easily find out that man. But our why we are not able to think this way is about our mind is already trained to think that these people who are doing carpenter or lorry driver or car mechanic are generally men only. So we can't even think out of box to see why can't they be women. Okay. I hope you got the answer now. I'm still getting some answers in the chat. Okay, so this is to tell you even other perspectives are available. Okay, like this, it's very difficult to find out even other perspectives are there. So are we really thinking out of the box? Even in your own problems you're facing in a life, there may be a lot of nice choices you can make, but then we are not able to think creatively because we are all like, forming one line and we are like, what do they say, in kind of one way of thinking, only a stereotype to think that way because of our upbringing, because of the school systems and because the parents said like only think this way and you have to read the guides for the answers. So we are always tuned to think that way. This is called out of the box. So we need to tune ourselves to think that way. So how do we do that? By asking a lot of questions like why, how, what it is, who it's for, how it works, what you need, how to access, who are you talking to. So to break this idea of lateral thinking and stereotypic thinking, during decision making, as I discussed with you already, the decision making process is a 7-step process, as I told you, where you need creative thinking. In the step 2, where you need to collect a lot of information. So there, your ideas cannot go dry. You need to really do a lot of thinking. So that is where your creativity will help. And during the decision making stage, when we are going to make a funnel approach, like a lot of alternatives you have, but you need to taper it down to the final choice. Your analytical thinking will help, like your straight thinking. That is also needed. So both the thinkings are important for problem solving and decision making. So there are a lot of methods to even improve your creative thinking skill, whatever age may be in, because there is called a plasticity. That is even when you're 70 years old, also you can really think creatively. So that is the beauty of it. So you can always train your creative thinking also. There are a lot of there are options there to train our creativity. So we'll move on to the next skill, critical thinking. As I told you, it's a 21st century skill and it is very important for, especially I would say for college students. College students, why? Because one of the important employability skill. When I want to discuss about employability skill, they say it is the gap between what the colleges teach people, what the knowledge colleges put into the student's mind and what is the expectation from the company, corporate side. And many of the employers said that there is a lot of gap between what is expected out of the students and what they could cater them. So this gap, we call it as employability skill. And they say that even an MBA graduate is not unable to write a letter, proper letter. So here you should understand that we need to develop our critical thinking skills and all other skills, like the whole array of life skills, very important for getting a right job and putting yourself in the right place and earning a good financial status. So let's see what is critical thinking. Don't go by the word critical and say that you have to be more, critical or skeptical or negative. It's not that. It is about making a informed, choices. Like for example, when you are making decision making, even critical thinking will be a part of it. As I already told you, these are all higher order thinking skills. So most intellectuals will have all these skills with them. And creative is about right-handed. They say, the right mind. The left, they say brain is of two types, like, left brain and the right brain. So they say that people who are more left-brained will have this kind of critical thinking, analytical thinking, and right-brained people will have more of creative thinking. Okay, so people may be good at this, and that is different. So critical thinking is very important nowadays. As I already told you, a lot of WhatsApp messages we are getting, and we don't even know whether the message is right or wrong. But before that, even it can influence our decisions and influence our choices and influence our emotions and whatnot. So we really need to ask ourselves whether are we taking decision. Are we making choices from whatever information we get from the outside. Whether are we biased or are we clear? But as a human being, I should tell you that we are all biased. We can't say that we are very rational choice makers. Most of the times we make a lot of wrong choices because of lot of cognitive fallacies we have. So that is again a big subject. We should understand that we all make irrational choice a lot of the time. So we have to do logically step-by-step analysis here. So what do we do that? That's why I've got a quote of Amanda who said that thinking is a skilled work. It's not true that we are all naturally endowed with the ability to think clearly and logically without learning how or without practicing. So it needs a lot of practice as well. Okay, so critical thinking. Again, I've got one small puzzle for you. Participants, you can just have a look at this puzzle and give me what is that question mark. What could be the number which can fill in the place of question mark? I will give you 20 seconds for you to observe this and get the logic behind this puzzle. I got one answer, I got two answers. Yeah. So that means this much time is enough for the participants to come up with the right answer. And Mr. Arpudanesan and Ms. Shweta, you've given the right answers already. And for other participants who are thinking in your own mind, and for Mr. Vivek also, right, your answer is absolutely right. It is. I will give the choice for other people who are still thinking. 40, 38, 39, 35. At least tell me what could be the right choice. Yes, the answer is absolutely right, Mr. Puttarjanam, Colonel Puttarjanam, Ms. Mufina, Ms. Saraswati, you're all exactly right. It is 39. So obviously there is a logic which is followed and you people could pick up that shows that you are very good at reasoning skills. Okay. So critical thinking obviously has this reasoning, inductive reasoning, deductive reasoning we say, and people good at reasoning skills can be very good at critical thinking as well. Okay, and how do we improve our critical thinking skills? Before that, I want to show, before that, I'll just show this. Any information you're going to get from social media or from people about any choices you're going to make in your life, you will be bombarded with information. Should I go for online classes or should I go for this? Should I take up this course or that? Whatever it may be. Or any information you get from any sources, ask yourself this question. What information supports that? How was the information obtained? That means what's the credibility of the source? Who obtained the information? How do you know that the information is valid? Why is it that way? How do we know that? Are there any possibilities? It is all about questioning. So it is somebody's asked for the logic. I will explain at the end of the show. Okay. Are there any possibilities? So these are the questions you should ask before blindly going and believing somebody. If they say somebody say something, okay, fine, let's go with it. Don't please just like that accept it. Look for fallacies. Look for biases. Look for emotional appeal. Okay, if somebody comes to the interview and says like, why do you think you will fit this scientist job well? And he says that, I love this job and I really like it and I think I can bring a lot of energy to the work. Does this answer make any sense? But the interviewer may be swayed by this answer. But the truth is there is no logical appeal to his answer. He rather should have told that I've got so-and-so degree and I'm good at this particular skill, so I think I'll be the best for this position. But rather what he said is, he brought the emotional appeal into it and he swayed the participant. Swayed the interviewer. So what I'm saying is, students who still have a lot of time, what you can do is participate in a lot of debates. Or also you can think about logical, factual statements during legal, what happens is during, before the judge, lawyers gives points. Without the right rational point, the judge will not agree what he's saying. Like that, all of you should think that you are the judge. Before accepting anything blindly, like a judge, you think this particular statement given by him, is it rational or should I take it? Or what is the assumption which is making me more biased to take this thing immediately? So think like that and finally you decide. Okay, so far now we have discussed a lot of higher order thinking skills, and to end it up, I'm going to share a very important thing, that is Edward de Bono's 6 magical hats, thinking hats. Okay, so 6 hats. Why I'm going to talk about this hats is, we all have a set personality pattern by which during our decision making process or problem solving, we go by a stereotypical thinking method.
There are some people who always think so creatively. There are some people who are always negative about things. There are some people who are always positive about it. There are some people who are like, or emotionally driven by their decisions. So understand who you are, and your type or your personality may be interfering with your other things. Maybe you are missing out on the other information which is very important as well. So the people who are having some other as a dominant thing, you will have to see whether creativity is something which you're lacking, and don't the green cap when you think you're lacking a lot of ideas or alternatives. Make sure you are wearing a green hat. And when you think that your logical, your facts are missing, factual information is missing, a lot of information you need to collect in all the situations, you have to don the white hat. That is all about facts. Okay. And yellow hat, when you have to wear a yellow hat is when you're so skeptical and when you think this is not at all going to turn out in the right way. Then that is the time you need to wear a yellow hat and see maybe there are some benefits in these decisions. Why didn't I look into it? And when you're wearing black hat, maybe a lot of positive people are also there. So that what happens is they may not go by the right decisions because they may be always negative about things which are happening. So they have to be with a lot of cautiousness. They can easily pick out the negative points in them. So those people have to wear the yellow hat. The other people have to wear the black hat. So-called positive people have to have the black hat to see what is the other perspective in this. So yellow hat people have to wear the black and black has to wear the yellow. Okay. And but you look into your personality type, like what is your general you need to change your hats. And red hat, when you think you're very very logical, you're analyzing facts, each and everything you're sifting, but then did you think about the emotions which are there in your decisions? Okay, when it is completely lacking, you have to do the red hat, which talks about intuitions. Even though you're maybe highly logical, sometimes your mind will say, your inner gut will say, this is wrong, don't go for it. Okay, even though the fact says that it is right, sometimes your inner intuition will say it is wrong. So that time, please listen to that by wearing the red hat. See, this blue hat will tell you which hat to wear when. Okay, that is a process control. Okay, so especially I told you green hat should be worn during the information collecting stage, white hats also during that stage, yellow when you are so negative, black when you're so positive, and red hat when you're very logical and very factual. Okay. So, and white hat, especially when you're finalizing your decision, that is time facts, you should go by the facts also. Okay, so this is just to give you an idea about thinking, different way or looking outside the, taking different perspectives, because we always take one single perspective and think that is the right one. May not be. So make sure, are you wearing all these hats when you are making a decision, for your decision to be very positive and constructive. Okay. So we pass through all the higher order thinking. So we'll go to the less of the higher order thinking and go to the other important life skills, that is self-awareness. It is so important. How many of the participants who are listening to this lecture would say that, ma'am, I know everything about myself. You can't question me. So I can even challenge you people, even though if you're in your 60s, 70s also, I can still say that you have not understood certain parts of yourself. Even I can say, being a psychologist also, I won't say I know everything about myself. I may not know certain things still about myself also. So that is the unexplored area. Okay. So self-awareness, you can ask me, why should I be aware, ma'am? What is the need for me to be aware? It is important in each and every step of your life. Let's say, like, for example, it gives us an insight into your own self, own capabilities and limitations. Okay. I can go on talk about this self-awareness. One example I will say, for example, you don't know actually what you want in your life, okay, and you just end up going for some job just because your friends went, or just because you have a lot of money there in the job, you went there and you made your career choice, and which is going to be more stable also. So what happens later? You are actually stuck in that government job. Let's say I've talked to a lot of people who got stuck in the government job, but these people are so creative and they have different, exploring ideas and all. But what happens in a government job? You have to follow a certain set of rhetoric principles and procedures and all that. These people have a different personality. What am I good at? What are my strengths? That is about the SWOT analysis we generally use as a tech tool to improve the self-awareness. I think some of my participants are aware of it, because most of my clinical experience, I use this SWOT analysis, because that is the first step for developing each and every skill also. You should know what your strengths are. You should know what your areas of development are or weaknesses are. It's okay that if you have less strength and more weaknesses also, but it's very, very important that you're aware of yourself, because we all have something called as blind self. That means we won't know like what is the problem we have. So that will keep creating a pattern in our lives everywhere we go. And people, a lot of people will talk behind us that he are like this, he is like that. You also know how many people we may be backbiting for their behavior, but we can't tell right in front of their face. And any leaders also, what is the one thing that differentiates is them? The people who are like successful in their life are aware of their strengths and weaknesses, and weak and failure people also, what they do is sometimes they are aware, but they focus too much on their weaknesses. Successful people may have less strengths but more weaknesses also, but they focus on their strengths. So it's important that we focus on our strengths and try to develop our weaknesses, okay, and come out of the weaknesses as early as possible. So only the knowledge of what we lack will help us to even change it. Similarly, we can't be very happy with our strengths as well, but we also should know what is my areas of development. Only then I can develop my personality. So inferiority and superiority complex, the self itself is a very complicated thing. Some people may have inferiority complex or low self-esteem and think that they are very inferior compared to many people when they are actually more talented. Okay, and also superiority complex also there is there that is about narcissism. They don't have any talents and skill but still believe that they are very, very capable. Okay, so our feelings also will affect our self-awareness. As one of the participants asked, yes, our feelings do affect, but our self-awareness, once it's done forever, but we can still diagnose our self-awareness till lifelong also. We can keep exploring ourselves and keep defining ourselves. The basic thing is you should know what you need. For what is the mantra for a happy person is the one who knows what he actually wants. An unhappy person is the one who goes behind something which he does not want also and get into trouble most of the times. So the moment you know what you really want, you will not go behind other people or what your friends may be doing. So you just reflect on what your real needs are and what your skills are. What is your interest? Go follow that, you'll be happy. And what is that you give importance to? One small tips I can give to improve your self-awareness is write an emotional journal for a week at least. Write down what are the feelings you face throughout a week. Every feeling will define something about you. Every feeling means sometimes you feel jealous, which is not very comfortable. Sometimes you feel happy. Sometimes you will feel, I'm talking about positive emotions. What makes you happy? What makes you sad? What makes you angry? Each and every feeling tells something about you. Okay, that is originally you can understand and carve yourself. Okay. And we'll move on to empathy, which is a beautiful skill. And it is very, very, very important for each and every human being, I would say. And especially for a psychologist, it's needed a lot. Empathy, simply said in one word, it's putting yourself in others' shoes and see what they see. It is an important skill in a conflict resolution skill and also for interpersonal skill and for communication, for everything, whichever people are related, you need empathy. In my own clinical experience, I've seen a lot of people lacking in empathy, leading to interpersonal conflicts in their office as well as at their home with the couples. Okay, so they don't have any idea about what the suffering other people is going through, and only they can think of themselves. They lack empathy, especially narcissistic people who are like, hyping about themselves. They can only think of themselves. So that is the worst thing. So you need to actually develop the skill, and good news is all the 10 life skills which I'm talking about can be developed. It's not a genetically bestowed thing. It can be developed. Okay. So empathy, one example I'll give you how empathy can redefine your emotions also, how it is important for emotional management. Because most of us have this problem to deal with our feelings, which we're going to see again. That is when we are dealing with anger, let's say. I can tell you, if you have empathy, your anger will be mellowed down. One example I can share is always I share for my participant is about when a person goes in a bus. Maybe you're a very privileged person, okay? Let's say you are a PhD holder or a doctor or whatever, you're a teacher, and you're getting into the bus for some reason, you really have to take the bus. And it's a night 8 o'clock and you're giving the conductor 2,000 rupees note for a 100 rupee ticket, okay? So what happens? The conductor will immediately snap back at you with nice words for you. I'm telling in a sarcastic way. He was definitely going to snap you back in front of everybody in a very negative way. So how you will take it? You will immediately get angry because your ego is disturbed now. So you will slash back at him saying that how dare you tell this word at me. And I've seen some people make sure that even the conductor is suspended from his job also. This is the kind of anger you can develop also. But 1 minute, just think about empathy here. Empathy will help you to mellow down your anger. So empathy means understanding a conductor's plight. Reverse role. I mean role reversal. What happens is, now think why this conductor got angry with you. Is he personally, personally actually insulting you? Not at all. His problem is from morning 7 o'clock till night 10 o'clock. He's always on the duty amidst lot of issues, and because of the Indian currency's courtesy, he's getting all 500 notes and 2000 notes. And what is that you expect from him during the end of the day? When you have this empathy developed in you, what happens? Something comes in you and feel sorry for this conductor. But at the same time, I'm not telling you that you should say, oh, sorry and all. You can say, this is not the way you talk to me. If you ask for a change, you just ask for a change, I'll give it to you. That is the way we give lot of regards for our own thing. And what we do is, this empathy will help us to develop our interpersonal relationship. What happens? This same conductor will feel bad for the words when you are responding him with calm and respect at him. Okay, he will not take you for granted, or he will not flare at you. When you are showing the calmness in your face and say these kind of words out of wisdom, and this fellow will understand. So this is how empathy in one way can help us. Sympathy is different. Many times when I ask people, they will confuse it with sympathy. Don't confuse with sympathy. Okay, so sympathy is something where you feel poor, poor beggar or poor people. All that is in that way. So that is, sympathy has nothing to do with empathy. Empathy is a more advanced skill and can be developed also. So take a look at this slide, which will help you how empathy works. It appreciates people as human beings, see the world in others' eyes, through others' eyes, understand others' feelings. Just imagine if you could understand your couples, between couples. Empathy is there. You know, your husband is really tired coming from work, or your wife is really so tired working at home. That small empathy can help you to develop the good interpersonal relationship between each other, right? So communicate your understanding. You also have to tell, like, what is that you really need. So all these ways empathy helps. So I'm moving to the next important skill, that is interpersonal relationship. Very, very important, especially for people. One example I told you about introverts. Introverts, let's say that they can't connect with people a lot because they want to be on their own. It's a very beautiful trait, but problem is they may have some issues with the interpersonal skills. Or everybody in the office may say, this person is so weird, he does not talk to anyone, and he is not friendly, or he's not smiling at me at all. And you may be doing lot of work, but you may not be recognized. Why? Because you don't know how to maintain a warm relationship with your colleagues. At the same time, a person who's way low in talent and way low in capacity, he can have a good relationship with his manager and get promotion and get off. Then imagine how interpersonal skill can help in that way. In any team working skill, it is very important. Okay, how do we develop that? Valuable interpersonal skill for a career for students: motivation, responsibility, teamwork, caring, leadership, active listening. These are the important interpersonal skills for the career for students. It is similarly important for even at work, and also for homemakers. Let's say, how many times homemakers have issues with their in-laws, mother-in-law, daughter-in-law problem, all these problems we are facing. They don't know how to maintain that courtesy. They don't know how to maintain that warm relationship. Whereas even the so-called daughter-in-law with the worst character can come out well because of her great interpersonal skill. So please understand the importance of that skill. I have not told you in this webinar about how do we develop it. I'm only telling you the importance and some tips about how do we develop it. It's a vast portion, which itself needs some 4 hours of lecture, each and every skill. Okay, you can note down which skill you think you may lack, because of that what problems you may face, and where do you think you really need to improve. And based on that, we can still plan for webinars. Next is, it's a very talk of the term, communication. Communication is the key. I still remember when I went for a PG also for my own entrance for MBA. They asked for communication skills. As a student, Chitra, can you communicate well? We have a group discussion. Now you got to communicate with all of them. Even though I am talented, even though I get 80 plus, if I don't communicate well in the group discussion, I will not get the job. Even though you grab a job and you still go to office, but you have a valid point with you, but you cannot voice it out to the boss, you are lost. So it's very important for there in your career as well as in schools, because they say people who talk in the class are the ones who are liked by the teacher a lot. Not talking means chit-chatting and all stuff. It's about talking about the class and all that, asking doubts, questions, communicating with the teacher, communicating with students. And for a teacher, for every occupation, communication skill is a basic skill. For parenting, how do we express your verbally, non-verbally? So this is again a ocean. Communication skill is an ocean again. I can only tell you there are three skills. One is verbal, and we can say para-verbal, and one more skill is non-verbal, that is body language. We say body language talks louder than the verbal language. Body language is very, very, very essential. Many people are getting wrong names because of their body language. They don't know how to carry themselves. There's a lot of impression management course going on because of these stuffs. So understand how you communicate. You are all sending signals without your knowledge. We are all sending some signals. Even now, I am sending some signals without my knowledge, with which you are actually understanding me. You may take me in a right way or a wrong way because of the signals I send. So be mindful about what signal you send, and be mindful about the receiver, how they are taking the information. And also, you can also, like a psychologist, you can also understand people by their body language, maybe by the way they talk to you, or maybe not talking also, just the body language, by the way they are coming into the classroom, or by the way, their body language, where they are keeping their hands while they're talking, all the posture, all this can tell something about a person. So this is a big ocean again, and I can only tell you that you also must be knowing listening, friendliness, open-mindedness, giving good feedback, confidence, non-verbal communication. All these are ingredients of good communication. One question is, you can ask yourself, are you a active listener? Are you an active listener? Are you actually listening? Some people may be listening only to the words, but not to the emotions. Emotions talk a lot rather than words. Some people may say, ma'am, I like it so much, but then their face itself will show that they don't like it at all. So how far you are understanding the body language of other people, gauging them properly. So you need to improve so that your life can become so easy when you are good at communication skill. And one but last is management of stress. So again, we already had webinar to see how to manage stress, and this is a big ocean again. All I can tell you is management of stress is again a skill, your coping skill. Whether you are using adaptive coping skill, maladaptive, people just because they are not even aware that they are stressed can be even admitted in hospitals. Okay, because even I can share my own experience also. Even before I did my PhD also, I didn't know I was so stressed, and it led to a lot of other complications. Only later in my life I knew that I was even stressed. So even a person who did the psychology was not even aware. Imagine the plight of the public. They won't even know what are the deleterious consequences of stress and how do I manage it. It is an art again. Every skill is an art. You need to practice it for the prevention of mental and physical disorders, as well as to lead a happy and I wouldn't say stress-free life. Stress will be there. You can't avoid stress. You can only surf through it. Okay, it's like an ocean. There will be a lot of waves, but you can only surf through. Okay, and that is very important. And so these are some of the stress management techniques you can use just at a glimpse. Therapy, spa, exercise, hobby, meditation, yoga. Nature is a great stress reliever. Listen to the nature, listen to the rain. And nowadays, unfortunately, we can't take a trip also to go to like Ooty or nice places to see that. That itself will relieve us. And time management and all the skills I'm discussing about, no, it's all our stress management skills only, I would say. Okay, all this will help you to relieve. See, imagine a problem you're having, but that is stressing you a lot. And when you have this problem solving skills, your stress is gone, right? So that is again a stress management skill, I would say. So only 3 things I can say. I always reiterate this. Follow proper lifestyle. Have good time sleep for 6 to 8 hours. Have good food. And one more thing is exercise. At least 4 times a week, 30 minutes of exercise. If you are sedentary, you can start with, short time for 5 to 10 minutes of walk inside your house also, it's fine. But you can still go ahead with it. Okay. Then that is very important. So just start with 5 to 10 minutes if you're having a sedentary lifestyle, or if you're already an active person, you start with 30 minutes of brisk walking and see all your stress all will be gone. Because stress, the cardio activities by itself can relieve our stress. Okay. The last, one of the last important life skill is managing your emotions. Appropriate and healthy methods of managing one's negative emotions go a long way in the prevention of physical and mental disorders. Here, when I say managing emotions, you can see from these emojis in the social media, Instagram and all the stuff, you know how these emotions are bothering us in our everyday life. We are not always happy. Emotions make our life more interesting, but then it also will give us a lot of trouble also in our life, right? Especially when we have maladaptive emotion like anger, sadness, jealous, or any such things of negative emotions, especially anger. I think even for anger management, we should have a class webinar on its own, because a lot of people have this problem with managing their anger. So all I can give you is one slide on emotional intelligence. How do I improve my EQ? EQ is a concept which was brought by Daniel Goleman in the 2000s itself. He talks beautifully about four important things, aspects to improve our EQ. IQ, you all must have heard about intelligent quotient. EQ is about emotional quotient. How do we develop it? First step is be aware of your emotions, be aware of yourself, self-confidence. Next is be aware of other people around you, be aware of what's happening around you. Next is manage yourself, have some self control. If you're getting extreme emotional problems, take a deep breath, control yourself, be more optimistic. Lastly, how do I manage my relations at home, relations at office, and how do I manage my conflicts? So all this will help you to improve the emotional intelligence. By itself is a package, it requires 5 or more than 5 hours of talk to improve. All I can tell you is, if you don't manage your emotions properly, it is going to increase your stress levels. It's going to have an immediate impact on your physical health and mental health especially. So we should find out a method through which we need to manage our emotions and keep it under control, rather than it overpowering us. Especially at COVID-19, you may be having a lot of fear issues, which is the major emotions which we may be facing. So that also we need to improve on. Okay. And apart from the 10 life skills, they have also added recently on assertive skills, which I always tell in my practice and workshop as well. People, if you're having assertive skill, half of your problem is solved. That talks about your self-confidence, that talks about how you can express your emotions to people, express your needs to people. That is very, very important. Okay. And simply said in one word, I could tell you, don't say yes when you want to say no. Don't say yes when you want to say no. There are many people who are suffering because of their passivity, especially a lot of women, I would say, at home. They can't express their feelings and they are suffering for more and more years because they can't be assertive because of the wrath of other people. They are so submissive, they can't do it. And aggressive people, there are men and women who both may be aggressive. They don't know how to express. They can only express in a rude way. That is also cause a lot of problem. But you need to hit the in-between balance called assertiveness. Assertiveness is a skill which can be developed and it can be useful for every area of life, for be it a student, for a career, for your job, everywhere. This skill is so important. So people won't take you for granted also. So that's important. And self-confidence is a prerequisite for assertive skill. We need to develop that first before we can even become assertive. Assertiveness is standing up for your own rights and able to express your needs and wants to others without hurting their feelings. Okay. So next, other skills. I'm just giving you a glimpse of other skills, and this is the last slide I have. Other skills which can be helpful in our life is study skills for students, because there is a lot of scientific methods to improve your memory, concentration, and there is a method called PQ3SQR which will improve the students' study skills. That is very important. So at this juncture, I would like to even tell you there are a lot of life skills which will also make our lives more simple. Negotiation or conflict resolution skill. Prerequisite for couples. Whenever couples come here with a lot of problems, I would find this lack of conflict resolution skill, and they may avoid the conflict, or they may even face the conflict with a lot of emotions. They'll get into trouble and even divorce as the result of it. So I would say negotiation or conflict resolution skill can help the marital couple, as well as at office and team working. When there is a lot of conflict between your colleagues, this will help you a lot. Employability, which I mentioned earlier, and leadership skill for people who are working in the job front. Importantly, you need to influence a team. You need to have leadership skill. Only then you can get the job from your team without any headache. And parenting, as I told earlier, parenting has become art nowadays, and we need to develop on that skill also to bring up our children in a more emotionally, physically, and mentally healthy citizens. And lastly, time management. So time management is a great skill, and people without having this time management can face problem everywhere, at home as well as at job, as well as it increase your stress levels and will mess up with your career also. So these are some of the skills. I just want you to note down. If you think you lack in any of these 10 skills which we discussed, and plus these skills, note it down as an area of improvement and try to improvise on the skills, so that you will see your life will change for more positive in a better way. So now to stay connected with me, okay, you can send your feedback or queries to manaswebinar@gmail.com, and quickly after this webinar, I will open up the Google form which I've already posted to you in your email to give the feedback form about this webinar. So on receipt of that, I will also look into this and I can give you the e-certificates. Participants, please be patient. E-certificates you will definitely get. All the active participants will get, but please give me a week's time before which I would send, but I will definitely send, don't worry. And you can visit my website hellomanas.com for more information and resource materials. And I also have a YouTube channel where it has got a lot of English videos and also in regional language. I have a lot of contents like this I've given there. If you want, you can subscribe to my channel. And this is a link which I've given there. And if you are part of my Manas webinar group in WhatsApp, I will give you my link. And also I'm on the Facebook. And now we have come to the most important part on questions. So now I'm open to the questions, and participants, you can feel free to type your questions in the chat, which I can answer, or you can unmute yourself. I will give you the option to unmute. You can unmute and ask the question to me based on today's presentation or anything on psychology. So I will pass the information to all the active participants, and thank you so much for being an active participant. And you can request for any webinars on the life skills which you may be missing. That will be like a more detailed session we should have, not a 1 hour webinar won't be enough, which will have a lot of resource materials to be shared, a lot of activities we need to do, a lot of videos have to show, lot other 360-degree learning has to happen. So that will not be like a talk which is there. So it will be spread over 4 weeks also, 4 hours thing. That will be a paid one if it is going to be a separate skill. So based on your requirements, we can take it up. Okay, so now I am open to the questions. So you can unmute yourself. The floor is open to the audience.
Good evening, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well. Please introduce yourself and ask the question.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, I'm Vaishnavi and I'm from Chennai. So, ma'am, my question is very simple actually. We were talking about all the life skills, and I just came to know that we, being a psychologist, sometimes we have to we became empathetic, like sympathetic, sorry, we became sympathetic towards some people, especially towards our friends, like where we have to solve a problem and we have to be empathetic, but we can't be empathetic at that situation. We became very sympathetic and we started instead of facilitating them, we started giving advising them, and we end up in their solution, like we became a problem for them in the end, because they think that we gave a bad solution for them. So like, how do you cope up with that situation? How do you become very empathetic, being sympathetic in that situation?
Okay. Yeah, so good question. So first of all, the rule of thumb is we should not actually counsel our friends. That is one thing. So our role, what we play, generally what I say my clients is, if they are my friends or my relatives, I say no to them. Actually, I don't help them. If they really have a lot of problems and if they need a counselor, I will forward them to another counselor, who may be my colleague or someone whom they don't know. And in case if you're really thinking that your friend is facing other problems, which is not very intense to be needing some counseling or therapy, you can listen to them. Listening itself is more healing rather than giving advices. So you tell that by default, you go to the sympathetic mode. So you need to look into yourself. Again, self-awareness will help here actually, because maybe you are a person who is like more emotionally getting close to people. Maybe you have that quality in you. You end up being more sympathetic. Okay, so that will again make you feel like giving more and more solutions to them rather than, as you rightly told, creating problem in their lives as well. So you want to impinge your solutions onto them. That is wrong actually. So right now you understood that this is a problem you have. So as I told you as a tips earlier, you forward your friends if they really have a problem to another counselor. Actually, you should not be doing it. And the next thing is, if you really want to help your friends, just listen to them. Listen, be more actively open as a counselor. Active listening is a very important skill. You listen to them, let them figure out their own solution. You just be there as a facilitator. If you think you're like going beyond the boundaries, then don't be there. Don't do it, because it may ruin your friendship as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll take it.
Good evening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah. Very audible. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Advocate Srujana, practicing in Chennai High Court.
Yeah,
You
yes,
said that it is very important for us at times to say no.
yes,
Well, I am facing a lot of, thing like when I have to say no, I feel very embarrassed. I feel it, I cannot say, it is very embarrassing, or maybe I hurt by saying no.
yes,
All these
yes.
kinds of things had led to, ultimately led to a thing like where I regret or guilt. No, no, I should have said no. Had I said no, maybe I would have avoided this. So, is there a strategy, or is there a method, or how to develop this? Thing to say no.
Yes, yes, madam. Yes, Mrs. Sujana. So, good question. So, you came to the problem on the right thing. You hit the dot actually. So, many of us actually do have this problem because of the culture we are brought up, especially women, I would say. We have a problem to say no to people, and we can't set boundaries generally because what if other people, what if they take it wrong? All this kind of cognitions, thinking we have, which will stop us, and we want to please people, and ending up not having a lot of troubles on our plate at the end of the day. So this I would say that this is a skill, and with this 1 minute I cannot give you answer, but I can tell you, even though you know you have to say no, you can't say no. Why? Because knowing and doing is different, and for the doing to happen, you need to undergo a process. By through a therapy or through a workshop, through which only you will understand, where we will give you some assessment to figure out what is in you is causing that barrier in you. First we have to be improve your self awareness, and give you a lot of insight into yourself, the understanding yourself, and then we will give you some set of steps or skills like a behavioral practice. Slowly you can start. For now, what I can give the tip, ma'am, you take up
Yes.
some small situation. You take up a small. Maybe you need not say no in a very difficult person. Take a small situation where you just start saying no. I know it will be so difficult for you, but then that
Yeah.
is a behavioral practice. Behavioral practice. It will be difficult. Fake it till you make it, we say in psychology. So
Hmm.
even though it is not part of you, just try at a baby step, taking a baby step. But without coaching, it's difficult. But since I want to give you some solutions right now, you can just
Okay.
start as a baby step. And then you will see the benefits coming out of it. Slowly that will shape up to be a more assertive person. So right now you're a passive, and you need to give regards to yourself, develop the confidence, and love yourself more than how you love others. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your inputs.
Yeah. Any other questions? I can take 3 more questions.
Good evening, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir. Please introduce. Go ahead.
Ma'am, I'm Brigadier Putarjunam. First of all, excellent session. Nice hearing your voice after a gap of 2 years.
Yeah, Colonel, how are you, sir?
I'm fine. I'm fine, ma'am. I
Okay,
want
nice
to
to see
ask
you.
you.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to ask you a question regarding the impact of social media
Okay.
on the critical thinking abilities among people,
Yes.
because we more often than not get swayed by the opinion of people given in the
Yes.
social media. How to overcome this?
So, good question, sir. Because our youngsters are especially, youngsters are not taught to think critically and told to take things blindly, stuff blindly, without even asking why. The question why is not, we are not trained to ask the question why. Why can't it be this way? We are all trained to say, yes, yes, it's okay, fine, tell me, go ahead. So, even from college, I think from school, it should start. Even from school, the teachers, even now in WCC and all, we had a workshop for critical thinking itself, because the girls or the boys, whoever it may be, we are not trained in such a way that brain itself is not working. We immediately take the information, like two assertions we say, like it is today the sun is blue, and the sun is, the sun is, the two assertions we say, the inductive reasoning we say, and people are very poor at reasoning also. Immediately, without any reasoning or factual information, we say yes, yes, as because you said no, it will be right only. Even the information I shared with you today, you have to see my credibility even before blindly accepting what I'm saying also. That is a level of critical thinking you people should have. Everyone should have, including me. So, how do we improve in students or the youngsters is to improvise their questioning skills again. As a parent, what role you can play is to tell our own children to ask questions before even accepting blindly to the information, and critically think whether it is a fact or it's a biased one. Okay, so that will help us a lot. From a parenting, we should start, and also in schools and colleges nowadays, teachers are starting with this life skill, critical thinking. That is hopefully, I think they will develop on that, and also later in the life also. Later also, we need to undergo these kind of seminars or something, because college and schools, what they concentrate on is the regular stream, only marks oriented subjects and all that stuff. All this life skill, I would say 70% of the people who are coming out of the college, they are lacking on these soft skills. More than that also, I would say. So what is the marks going to give them? It's very low. If they are going to have this also alongside them, it is a what do I say, jackpot for them. So this is the some ways where they could improve. So that's what I feel. But then we need a more training for these children, even in their 15, 16, to tell them, like, question even before accepting the information blindly.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so is there any other question you can quickly ask me? Otherwise, we can wind up the webinar.
Good evening, ma'am. This is Namrata here.
Good evening, Namrata. Yeah.
Hello, am I audible,
Yeah,
ma'am?
I can hear you. Please introduce yourself, Namrata. What do you do actually?
Yeah, I'm a law student, ma'am. I'm in the second year currently. I'm
Okay.
doing BBA LLB at VIT Chennai.
Okay.
And my question is on anxiety and depression.
Okay.
That is, how anxiety and depression, are related to each other. So just because you have one, does it mean that, you have the other also?
Okay, I'll answer your question, Namrata. So, we can't always say that a person who's depressed will have anxiety also, because anxiety is basically because of the fear. I would say. Mostly anxiety is about the future. Okay, it's about the future. The fear is about the future, but in depression, it is about the past. Okay, but there are a lot of clinical clients who come to me. They actually have anxiety as well as depression. So it can be present in the same individual, or even individually also it can exist. These are two different conditions as such. Mental health problem, when we say anxiety disorder, according to DSM classification is different. Depressive disorders are different. But same people also can have, but it can also exist independently also. As I told, these are like emotional issues, but when it goes out of proportion in intensity and frequency, it becomes a disorder to be treated. So anxiety is all about the future. Like the COVID-19, we have a lot of anxieties. What is going to happen? Whether will I lose my job? What will happen to my study? Anxiety. Depression is okay. Looking back, what all I lost in my life. Okay, I'm feeling so blue, so sad because I lost this opportunity. I lost this thing. I couldn't write the 10th grade exam because of that. I'm feeling so bad. So these are all depressions. Okay, so these are all emotional issues.
Okay, ma'am. Secondly, the second question is that, speaking of, the loved ones who are, going through the depression. So how do I keep myself motivated and, be strong emotionally and mentally? And are
Okay,
there
so
any warning signs of depression?
Yeah, of course. So, but this is a very good question, but it requires a lot of explanation. But I will give a glimpse of it. As you say, asked rightly, there are a lot of warning signs of depression. One major thing is the sense of hopelessness and helplessness and low feeling, low confidence, loss of self-esteem, worthlessness. These are the three important warning signs. And apart from that, your sleeping cycle may be disturbed. Maybe you are sleeping more or sleeping less, and your eating cycle is also disturbed. Maybe you're eating too much or not eating, and you're withdrawing from your family or friends, and you're seeking more lonely and crying spells, being more sad, being more irritable. All these are some of the warning signs of depression. And how to keep yourself healthy? One word, what I can say is have some meaning and purpose in your life. Go for some goals. Always when we have a strong goal, which is only based on your needs and goals, not based on your parents or your friends, obviously you will feel motivated to live at least for that meaning and purpose, if not for yourselves, and improve your confidence, which will not allow you to be depressed, which will make you feel good enough and wanting to pursue that goal in life. Okay, so one last question we'll take and we'll wind up this. So I also got few questions regarding. So I'll give last opportunity for one participant to ask any question if any, or we'll wind up. We are already past 30 minutes now. Okay, Mr. Kanyappa has asked how to improve my creative thinking. So creative thinking is again a skill which can be developed. So not a problem, but it requires a lot of training. For now, what I can give some tips is to write 50 words immediately, whatever is around you. Think about whatever objects you can think of, write some 50 objects immediately. And then only you'll see how much you're running, dry of ideas. So that shows that our mind is not able to think out of the box also. So that is one method. And if you Google also, you'll find out a lot of other methods also, and try to see the other perspective totally opposite to what you think. What could be the other option available? Open up your thinking channels and see how it can be, There are a lot of other methods also to improvise your creative thinking. So that also, again, as I told you earlier, we need an entire class to even improve your creative thinking. But these are some of the good tips you can even figure out from the internet, to play some creative thinking games too, and also write the things, or draw. All this will improve your creative thinking. Yeah. So okay, participants. So some other questions, if you have, you can just write it in my feedback webinar, Manas webinar. I can write back to you. Okay. So thank you so much once again for the last 38 participants being here, and good learning. So I think you're all very active learners, and I wish you all the best. And thank you. Take care. We'll see. We'll catch you again in the next webinar. Bye.